Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 at 2 p.m. This is the meeting of the Public Art Committee at the City Hall second floor media room. I'm Joan Jennings, Chair of the committee. And Megan, would you call the roll, please?
Chair Jennings,
Here?
Vice Chair Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Meals,
Here.
Mr. Salo,
Here.
Mr. Stackhouse,
Here.
Ms. Hennessy,
Present.
Ms. Wood,
Here.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that Trish Gregory tendered her resignation. And I made an arrangement with Trish Hickey in the mayor's office to send her a letter of appreciation for her service. So, it's up to the Board of Commissioners now to select a new member to replace her, so.
And I believe that's on the April 26th agenda.
Oh, it is, okay. All right. Okay. We have a presentation today. Patricia McNeese.
We do approval of minutes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 19th meeting. Lucianne, do I have a second? Robert?
I have an amendment, if I may.
Sure.
Just a little clarification on the water project. We talked about so many things that some of this got mixed up. But if the first paragraph under water project, if we could add to that last sentence, beginning with Safford Avenue.
What page are you on, Lucianne, please?
On the water project, page 4.
Okay.
Top of page 4.
And what was your amendment?
The amendment, at the end of the first paragraph, add the words, beginning with Safford Avenue.
Okay.
And then the next amendment is a little more complicated. It's in the fourth paragraph down. When I was suggesting contacting large property owners, I had skipped over to North Pinellas. And I wanted that clarified. I've written it out, if that would be easier.
Yes,
Just to
if you
hand
don't
to you,
mind.
Megan?
Sure.
Okay.
Lucianne, could you just read it into the record, and then you can give it
Sure.
to Megan?
Sure. After reviewing city-owned properties on Safford Avenue, Mrs. R. directed attention to North Pinellas. She suggested the possibility of using portions of large privately owned lots on that stretch, since there is no city-owned property there. And I have that written out for you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like a motion to accept the minutes as amended. Bill, second?
Second.
Robert, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes were approved as amended. Okay, now Patricia. Patricia, you're up. Patricia McNeese. Okay. You are from the building department, correct?
I'm from Planning and Zoning Department.
Zoning, okay.
Yeah, I go by Pat, so my name is Pat McNeese. I'm a principal planner with that department. And I brought along 2 handouts today that you've got. And I was asked to just go over that section of our code that deals with developer contributions to public art for the city. Okay, so really I'm going to be kind of just quickly walking through the section of code that's handed out. It's section 296. And then I'll touch on what projects we see and what they go through. And then we can, talk about any questions you have. Any specific projects, I'll try my best to answer if it's something I know off the top of my head. As you know, we have Article 14 of our Land Development Code. That's Appendix A of the city's Code of Ordinances, covers public art. And that's, what creates the committee and everything you do, and a lot of that stuff is in that section. Section 296 in that article deals with development and redevelopment. So just kind of walking through and reading that section, starting with subparagraph A. All projects and developments consisting of new construction or renovation related to commercial, industrial, mixed use, and residential. Those are the four, residential, development types that have to meet this section. And just skipping down a little bit, that exceed an aggregate job value of $1 million have to contribute to public art. There is an exception for single-family lots. So somebody building a house on a single-family lot in a subdivision is exempt from these requirements. Okay, so these are projects with this aggregate job value of $1 million or more. They have to obviously submit for a building permit, and they have two choices. So it says that they have to allocate not less than 1% of their job value to the provision of public art. When we go down a little further, we're going to find out that the developer has one of two options to fulfill that requirement. And then it talks about just kind of tries to close a loophole there on multiple permits. If somebody's pulling, doing a renovation of a site with 3 buildings and says, well, I'm going to come in for 3 separate permits, that's not a loophole to get out of public art type thing. That's what that last sentence is kind of about. So Section B gives those two options. First is that the developer contracts with the professional artist. And so it talks about the process there, and I'm not familiar with what all experience you guys have had with this, but I guess you've had maybe one or more developers come before you with their artist and proposal. It's pretty specific about what they have to bring before you. There's a list of things that they have to provide. The parameters, the budget, the artist, qualifications, and the statement. So once that's approved and they go to build that, install that art, it has to be completed before the certificate of occupancy is issued for that project. And then the second choice is to pay in lieu. 3/4% of the aggregate job value. And that in lieu fee has to be paid prior to the final inspection. So just to kind of walk through a couple examples. So the first example, you've got the aggregate job value of $1 million where they're going to do public art. They allocate up to $100,000, so that would be, a $10 million project. That would be 1% of the $10 million project. That's the most. So if it's more than $10 million aggregate job value, they're going to spend $100,000. That's the cap. Okay, so $1 million project would allocate $10,000, $2 million, $20,000, and so on. For the in lieu fee, it's 3/4%. So $1 million project will allocate $7,500. $2 million would be $15,000, and so on. So that's how that works. So
I think you mean to add another decimal point to that. Not 15, but 150.
no,
No?
3/4% of the value.
thought it was
So 1% of $1 million is 10,000, right?
Right,
3/4%
75.
is 7,500. Yeah, that's what's in your code now.
I'm
Yeah,
not good at math.
that's okay.
And I think that's where the disconnect was coming, is that we were expecting, maybe you were expecting a lot more from a development. And so, that's why I asked Pat to come, so that we could all understand and be on the same page as what to expect from some
Yeah,
of these.
and I would note, and Diane might know the history of this, Item B, paren 1, talks about the artwork being completed before a CO is issued. I think that was original language, and in an item 2, Kevin had that one changed to, it originally said upon issuance of a building permit. So we had that changed to final inspection. So you never know what's going to happen, right? We have people pull building permits that never build a project, and the permit expires. There's all kind of situations. Have some issues, I think, some statutory issues. So that was a good move for him to put, hey, we're not going to go out and do your final inspection until we know your public art is there and accepted. So that's I think why he put that language in there. So yeah, that was the 2019 change. Like I say, I don't know if the fees were ever updated in 2016. Maybe you know, Diane, but I suspect they might be the original, from the original ordinance. So that's how the process works. And we have, I gave you this other sheet here just kind of for fun. It was actually made for our review boards that review developments, including Planning and Zoning Board, Board of Adjustment, Heritage Preservation Board. It just shows all the applications that come through the Planning and Zoning Department and who reviews them. But it gives you an idea of what everything, everybody looks at. But from the applicant or the developer's point of view, for a large project, generally he's going to the technical review, he or she is going to technical review committee first. That's a committee of city departments that, it's not a voting committee or really anything like that. It's to review for compliance, but also it's a good dialogue back and forth with the applicant on, suggestions, any city issues, any issues they might have with other agencies. It's a good exchange. It occurs in this room on the second Thursday of every month. So we're going to have one on Thursday up here with several projects on it. So they go to the TRC first, and then they proceed to, those that need to proceed to the Planning and Zoning Board. And that, like I say, most big projects do require going to these different boards. In Tarpon Springs, even site plans go to these boards, which is a little unusual, but for Tarpon Springs, that's what we do. For uses by right, those all go all the way to Board of Commissioners. So Planning and Zoning Board and then Board of Commissioners. They have hearings at both of those boards. Then they can apply for a building permit. And then once they build it, a certificate of occupancy is issued. I mean, we've had all sorts of situations. I think somebody, saw some emails back and forth about which projects were coming, which were paying. The Holiday Inn Express, for example, is a good example. They went through all this, applied for their permits. They had one outstanding item for drainage. COVID hit, it sat, the permit sat, it was not issued, so it expired, the application expired, and the gentleman lost the franchise. Well, we've had recent contact that he's regained the franchise from Holiday Inn. I think it's still Holiday Inn Express, and he's going to be coming in, he may already have come in to reapply for that building permit. Now you're going to ask me what he was going to do. I want to say he was going to do public art on site, but that building permit hasn't come across our desk yet. And to kind of circle back on this process, when someone applies for a building permit, it comes to Planning and Zoning first. We review it for public art in addition to everything else to make sure it complies with what the Board of Commissioners approved. Exactly. That's before building ever touches it. Building has a 30-day statutory review period. So, it's another one of those things that pass. So they don't start their review until we're done and say, yeah, this is what the board approved. So that's when we verify all that stuff. We calculate the fee. We send the applicant an email about the fee right away when we, review the permit, because I will be honest with you, a lot of times they either forget that they had to do it, or it goes to somebody else in the corporation that wasn't told they had to do it. You get everything, right? It's like, what? We have to pay, yeah. So you get that kind of stuff. And the code was changed to allow them to pay on final inspection too, because that can be an issue for a developer. Once they get started, break ground, start a cash flow, then it's a little easier for them to, however their situation or financing, their mortgage or whatever, once cash flow is going, it's like, yeah, how much money am I paying up front before I even have a building permit issued? That can get tricky. So this makes it a little easier. And this really is intended for projects that are going to be built, right? So that kind of softens the blow a little bit, and also ensures that, we're going to issue a permit and get the art out of the project. So then subsection C is really just some exclusions, anything, let's see, excluded from this requirement, projects with an aggregate job value under $1 million. Obviously, it's kind of the flip reverse of what the first section says, affordable housing, and then anything that was really in the pipeline when this ordinance was passed. I would say I'm willing to bet there's nothing that's still kind of alive permit-wise that was in the pipeline. So that's the ordinance. Like I say, the development project types, I would say on this list, the ones that are going to hit that $1 million mark are going to be some of the uses by rights, which are site plans, planned developments. Some of them will and some won't. So planned developments would be another one. That's probably the two categories that most of them fall under. Yeah. So then, yeah, like I say, there were some emails going around. I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple I know or that we anticipate to come. The Anclote Harbor project, they had come and talked to you about public art. I know I came to that meeting. They proposed to do art on site. They've applied for a building permit. Project called Cypress Trails. It's going to be building a phase 2 of, there's a phase 1 out there. It's called Cypress Trails Townhomes. It's up on Jasmine and Spruce. They're going to build the second phase of theirs. They have indicated they will be doing an art project, but they have board hearings to go through for that project, and it'll be a little while before that gets to a building permit stage. Furman Volvo came in and got minor site plan approval for their project, and they have not pulled their permit yet, but they will have a fee due on that project. And we have one going to the Planning and Zoning Board next Monday called, you guys are going to love it, Take 5 Car Wash, another car wash. Sorry. Next to the CVS. And they've indicated they're going to do art on site. So when they apply for their site plan and go to TRC, there's a little checkbox, that says, I'm doing art on site, or no, I'm going to pay in lieu, or my project is under $1 million. So they check one of those boxes. We go to hearing, and tell the board, hey, here's what they said they were going to do. At this one, we've recommended a condition that these guys Take 5 Car Wash, immediately get an artist and get with you so they don't hold up their CO if they're going to do art on site, because some of these people tend to, depend on who's working, you've got an engineer and an owner. CVS owns that site and still owns it, so there's a land sale going on. Sometimes it gets lost in the mix, so we put that on there and advise them, don't come to the last minute and say, hey, we want, our building permit and well, have you started public art yet? So we do advise them of that. But, we don't really know the real value of the project until the building permit comes in and the contractor puts it on the permit. The contractor is the one who pretty much, engineer and the contractor determine the aggregate value of the project. And that's everything. The site work, the vertical construction, all that stuff. So,
I have a question.
yeah, and just as far as projects, I didn't really have anything else I thought of that was over $1 million that's recent. So if there's any you want to ask about, I can.
So if they choose to do their own art on site, what are the qualifications for that, to consider
It's
it?
in the,
Okay, so if you look at section B, number 1,
That's section B. Okay.
section B, number 1. Okay, it says, it gives them some standards. Artwork must be located in publicly accessible locations. That's one standard.
My question is, who qualifies it?
we do.
Yeah, so if you go further down,
So far,
you
the
guys
only
can
one that we've
assist
done-
in an artist.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Pat.
Yeah, and then it says before they sign a contract, so before contracting with the artist,
It needs cleaning.
owner will submit for approval by the Public Art Committee the artist's qualifications, proposal, statement of how it satisfies parameters of the public art program, which I guess are elsewhere in the ordinance, and the budget. And you guys have to approve it.
Right, and so, John, another question is,
Can you,
So-
if you look in your packets, I thought we'd just segue to this because we're kind of talking about it. I sent an email to Tom Trask, the city attorney, about making some changes to the ordinance because I know we've all had concerns. And if you look at the red, have you found it? It says ordinance revision
The
proposed.
last one. last page.
That's the last one. And it says artworks must be located in publicly accessible locations which are approved by the Public Art Committee, in addition to approving the art itself. And then paragraph 3, if the developer opts to create a permanent public artwork, the Public Art Committee reserves the right to specify the location of the artwork, which may or may not be located at or near the development. So that's something where you have to bring to the Board of Commissioners. But I think it's something that's needed because, I mean, I don't see the point in putting, public art in the middle of a car wash, but that's just me.
Yeah, and the interesting part of making that work will be that the art is installed before the CO, because the artist now does not have control of the off-site.
Right.
So the city would have to agree. Yeah, so that's tricky. Hopefully you can work that out.
Right.
It's a timing issue. Maybe it's just that they donate some sculpture or something to be put somewhere in the future. That one's tricky. That'll be to see how that works, but
Yeah.
certainly something for discussion.
Lucianne, did you have your hand up?
I did. I have a couple of questions. Directly related to this, I suspect that requirement may encourage a developer to opt for funding, paying the fee rather than commissioning a piece in some yet-to-be-determined location, I'm guessing. But can you talk about the exception for residential developments? I understand that, for example, Bayshore Heights, which was developed some years ago, was exempt because there are single-family lots. What about the townhouses over here on, the green townhouses on Orange and,
Ring.
Oh, right, called carriage homes on Ring. I'm not sure if they were exempted or not. You know, this specifies individual single-family residential lots, but a townhome development is attached homes. So it's not like, give you an example. We just had a plat, finished, and I think they're doing vertical construction now called Eagle Creek. Their site work and platting was over $1 million, and I think they paid their, anyway, they,
did.
we're gonna pay in lieu. But so they are building homes on the lots, but an owner can buy a lot and build his own home on the lot. So that's a plat with detached dwellings. I would say the carriage homes on Ring probably had to either contribute or, I don't know if there's any public art on the site. I can't picture it right now. So, but that's one, that was approved back in 2015. That could certainly be researched to see what they ended up doing, but they just pulled their permit recently.
know what the exact determination was?
But
That's an interesting thing, because that's Joe Kokolakis,
Yeah,
and he's done a lot of art-related buildings and things in Dunedin. So he's very attuned to that, so it's interesting that there's no anything about that, about what it is, like whether he bypassed that or.
Well, I'm sure there is. I just don't. I don't know it off the top of my head. He may have paid into the fund. Like I say, it was. And I think he pulled the permit and CO'd in the last fiscal year, or maybe pulled it before that. So that was one where the project was delayed, and like I say, that was one of those where it was delayed, but it was still, the site plan approval was still good. So from 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the email that I got, just as a review, was, I guess, Pioneer Homes, which is the Cypress Trails that you referenced. That's still kind of out there.
Yeah, Pioneer Homes is another one. Cypress
Oh, it's-
Trails
oh,
is
it's-
Manuel Indiakis.
Okay,
Yeah,
And then,
Pioneer Homes has not come in for building permits.
okay. And then Flagship Bank is under $1 million.
Yes.
Dan's Car Wash, I guess, is still out there. The city clerk's office is still out there. Eagle Ridge, is it Ridge?
Eagle Creek. Eagle Ridge is the Housing Authority project. They were exempted
Okay. They paid,
for affordable housing.
right, they paid $13,365. Furman Volvo paid $24,474.34.
Yeah,
The
they have,
Holiday Inn Express, as you just indicated, is awaiting a new permit submittal. And then there's Manatee Plaza. I don't think we have anything on them. And 160 Reed Street, they appeared before the Heritage Preservation Board yesterday, or the day before yesterday. And I think they
160, that was for a re-roof.
yeah. But I think the attorney said something that their renovations alone would be hovering around $750, so they might be getting.
Right, but that's a single-family home on a individual lot, so he's exempt.
Is that single family? I thought it was multiple family.
It's single-family by our records and property appraisers.
It's split
I'll
into
just say
apartments.
it's single-family.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I mean,
Officially,
it's like
single
everything
family.
else in the city, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like short-term rentals, right?
This is a little bit different, but what's the process? I'm not seeing anywhere here if we refuse the project. Do we have that, I'm sort of assuming that we have to clear it.
Yes.
So I don't see anything in here about what the recourse of the person making the application is for, if we say, no, we don't like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So they can either alter the project to meet your requirements. I don't know if they can appeal. You're right, there's no appeal process listed here.
Because it sounds to me like.
That's a good question, maybe for city attorney.
feel like our approval doesn't have any kind of structure to it,
May
or
appeal the
disapproval.
decision to the Board of Adjustment.
Well, you would be acting as a board, and I don't know if it'd be by, not sure how the actions of this board work, whether they're by resolution or just,
I don't know if we've ever done it, or whether we would.
Just to back up a second to more of a philosophical, look at this. I think we heard from City of Tampa, and they really don't, they collect a fee for it. Doesn't appear to be an option for someone to do an on-site piece of artwork because they want to control a little bit more of it. It seems like we're fraught with, situations the whole way along from, is it appropriate where they're placing it? Is it appropriate what they're doing? And then also the legacy part of it is if that project gets sold to someone else, who retains the ownership, who's going to maintain it, there's all kinds of things that happen throughout the entire process. And the way the ordinance is currently written, it looks like we're asking for that first, and in lieu of that, you can pay a fee. And I'm wondering if philosophically we want to take a look at where we are in that
Yeah,
process. Everybody follow what I'm?
exactly. I think we could probably, use another look at the ordinance. Other than I like that, especially after speaking to, Rob and Nye at Tampa. Because, I just, listening to you, Pat, I just had this vision of, all these car washes with, some kind of statuary in front. And I know Lucianne's been trying to get a water feature, but I don't think she wants it in a car wash. It
I
just.
wasn't thinking of,
Yeah,
Venus.
no car washes. But, it just seems, it's, to do it is allowable, but is it advisable? I don't think it is, so.
Well, and I think what we wanted to do today is just be able to ask, she wanted to explain like what the process is and everything, so I think that's a discussion for you all
Right.
about the ordinance, but if you have any other questions, about how they calculate it, I think that was the big thing, is for you to understand like how they calculate it and what is exempt, just so, because we have all these new things that we are hearing about, but it's like, is this qualify and, and when in the process, do we know whether we're going to get money from, them or not? So, maybe that's something I could work with Pat about, if she could let me know whether, something is coming down the hopper that could be a potential,
Right.
Funder for public art.
Yeah, but maybe we could have a ordinance revision workshop or some kind of, because I think,
Need one badly.
Pat, your presentation was great and gave us a lot of food for thought.
Okay, great.
So I think,
And to Diane's point, what our finance director does is when building department, they take that fee, key it into the revenue account that Mr. Herring designates, and it goes into Diane's revenue. And periodically, you guys can print that, and then if Diane wants to know, hey, what were these revenue entries? What permit was that? Now, I can certainly answer that. And then at some point, when you either do your budget or do a budget revision resolution, it's folded into your budget. Obviously, Ron doesn't put it directly in your budget. It's in a revenue account, just like any other city revenue
Right.
for you guys to fold into your budget. But I can coordinate with Diane on which projects those amounts were for, and so we can update you every so often.
right, well, further down on the agenda, it's something that I added as a discussion point, would be, Diane and I talked about it, would be to have Megan give us a brief budget overview at every meeting, just so we know how much money we have in the account. Because we turned down a project because we were worried about the expense, so I think we need to have a realistic grasp of what we are working with.
Exactly. Does anybody have any more questions for Pat?
I have one, and it may be better for Ron, I'm not sure, but it's about funding. There's a line in our ordinance that says very specifically that these contractors' fees cannot be construed as a tax or an impact fee. Can you describe what an impact fee is and how it's different from what our fee is?
Well, an impact fee, and I suspect that was probably put in there maybe with the help of your city attorney. It sounds like attorney language, doesn't it? But impact fees are something that, that is, pretty much every jurisdiction in Florida has been around, and other states. They're normally for public facilities to pay for the new impacts of new development. So the old example would be, I have a road, a 2-lane road. I'm going to build a big, shopping center with a McDonald's and whatever, and going to generate, 3,000 trips a day. I'm going to impact that road, and the road goes below the adopted capacity, and I have to add a lane. The impact fees can be used to add that lane. They can't be used to maintain the road that's there already. It's just for new development. So that goes into, we do collect impact fees with all building permits, and that does go into another special fund that Mr. Herring has that can only be used for new, water lines and road lanes and certain things like that. So it was probably to avoid, public art isn't really a required capacity public facility. So it's interesting that somebody thought it was necessary to put that in there, but it just, maybe try to shut down some other attorney or something. I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone
All right.
else?
All right, thanks. Good luck with this.
Thank you very much. Very, very informative.
Thank you,
Thank
Pam.
you. Okay. Okay, we're into old business. Feedback on the public art workshop with Robin Nye. I know Diane has provided some notes, and as it was indicated too, it is archived on YouTube if anybody wants to go over it. I know there were some comments about the sound quality, so it's good to have the notes as backup. But
I think he put, I think that Mark Jump did put another version on there that has better quality.
Okay.
So, yeah, because he did get in touch with me after the
okay,
workshop.
Diane, maybe if you could email the link to that
Okay.
newer version, that would be great.
Just a takeaway from her presentation, I think what we just discussed with the fees and developing, the funding is probably one of the biggest things that had an impact for me. Along with that, as we look at the ordinance, I think we need to watch too, because there was some discussion that she brought up about, a nonprofit that helped to create some of the funding for some of these things. And the way we're currently written, I believe all that funding would go directly into the city, and we're still obligated with that $15,000 limit without, I think some of that needs to be looked at too as we look at the ordinance going forward. So those were two of the big takeaways that I had from her presentation that I thought were extremely insightful.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but do you remember, one of the things that I picked up from what she was saying about the nonprofit too was that it was kind of like if there was like a big project, the public art committee would fund so much of it, and
Right.
then the nonprofit would add funds to that,
Correct.
like a second,
Yes.
It's kind of like what the Friends do for like the library and things like that. They help fund,
Yes.
some things, so.
But just the language that
Yeah.
we have in the ordinance is a little wonky, and I think that needs to be another thing that we take a look at. To
It
be
might
able to
not be
really
a bad
grow.
idea for you all to kind of take a look at the ordinance and then, just kind of give your respective revisions and then, bring it back for discussion, among you all, and then come up with like a final draft that we could present for them to look at.
Right, I think a workshop would probably be a good idea too, to just focus on the ordinance.
Yeah, it seems like philosophically, we need to come up with an idea, and then we're gonna have to bring the legal in, and they're gonna have to write it, because
Right.
it's beyond what we're probably capable of doing. But I think philosophically, I think we wanna set some outline for what we think might be the right way for it to be drafted.
Like, I really think that it's become problematic for us because, you know, our density's increasing. And to have all these little hodgepodge, you know, art projects sprinkled all over US 19, which is gonna present a problem anyway, you know, our charge, our mission, according to the ordinance, is to basically provide a cohesive and meaningful appearance to the city. So this is almost in violation of our mission to have this stuff just like helter-skelter all over town. Anytime somebody builds a car wash, they put, you know, some kind of gurgling fountain in the front of it. And, you know, it kind of reflects badly on us and on the city. So I think that we should really seriously consider maybe just taking that option off the table and just having them make some sort of contribution.
How do you want to proceed with that?
Well, as I said, I think we should have a workshop. We should discuss it, maybe invite Tom or somebody on his staff.
When, what date, like what month?
I think sooner rather than later. I
Okay.
mean,
It's the biggest thing we can do to try to have
stop
an
this.
impact,
Right,
you know.
What time of day?
2:00? Does that work for everybody?
I'll have to check and see what other things are scheduled.
Right. Or how about, you know, like we did with the workshop, is 10:00 amenable to people? Because I know a lot of the other boards meet at 2:00 here.
I think 2 o'clock would probably be better.
Right, but if we can't do 2, 11, young man?
I think that works.
Okay, so let's look at either 11 or 2. See, after that, I fall asleep. You have to wake up, I go to sleep. so.
I'm awake way before that.
Okay. Yeah, so if you could, Diane, be so kind as to mail us some, you know,
Yep.
openings. Okay,
Okey-doke.
all right, because I think that's really critical. You know, I'm sure when this was written in 2007, that it was a very different world. And things have changed a lot. Okay, any other comments on the public art workshop? Okay, moving right along, sports field mural project. Bill and David.
Yeah, we spoke just prior to the meeting here. We both had busy schedules this past month. What we would like to do is reach out to and interrupt David, reach out to the folks that are responsible for the Riverside, which would be the football or soccer and soccer, both, and be able to talk and get a little bit of feedback from whoever runs those programs as to what they'd like to see on the concession storage area up there on the top, because it's pretty high profile. I think that's going to make a nice statement sitting up on the hill the way it does. So, but I think we want feedback before we head down any direction on anything.
Is that at Sisler or
No, that's Riverside.
Riverside?
Yeah, right
sorry.
across from the middle school.
Are they still working on Sisler? I drive past them.
Sisler is pretty well finished. I did
Okay.
stop by there and looked, and there's 2 poles that, it's very cluttered there. I'm not sure that we have a really nice venue to put the boxes, the art boxes up. There are 2 poles that would work. They're the really large poles in diameter. One right by the concession area, and then one as you go towards the back fields. So those are the 2 places that I would see that would have some possible, but there's a lot going on there. It's just. So-
So another thing about the baseball fields, is there any way we can do a call to artists so we can kind of get an idea? Maybe that would kind of help out a a little bit of.
You mean for the subject matter for the boxes?
No, for the field, for the buildings.
Oh, other than Sisler. Sorry, you made it.
Correct. Yeah, sorry, I went
Okay.
back.
Sure, we could do that.
Well,
Is there any way to?
but I'm confused, because first of all, you want to reach out to the agencies and get their feedback, but then a call to art, I think we should probably do that first, and then,
Right.
Then
Yeah.
we'll go for a call
then
to
do the
artists.
call to artists, yeah, okay.
So are we gonna give the call to artists the subject matter at hand, like what we want to
Well,
see?
I don't know that we're gonna get from the coaches or whoever runs those programs an exact idea of this is what we'd like to see. But I think what we'll get is some guidelines that maybe we can put into a call to artists. That this is kind of what the owner is looking for potentially. Because I think we have to cross a bridge there between both soccer and football.
Yeah.
Because it gets used heavily by both sports.
So would it work to have something to show them? Like, these are some of the things that we could do? Instead of just,
I tend to want to get some feedback from them and then go get some ideas and come back to them and say,
okay.
I don't think you're gonna get a lot of specific suggestions from them.
no, we're not.
You know, they're gonna say, oh, I want some pretty colors and
Something nice.
Yeah.
things like that. It'll be pretty generic, I would think.
Correct.
You might get more of what they don't want.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're also doing some buy-in, so.
Exactly.
If you go talk to them first and then go with a call to artists, it's like, they listened to me, okay? So that's kind of what I was
Well, I think
thinking.
that's a good way to do it, because instead of, instead of just sort of ramming it down their throats, here's some art, enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it's important.
Try to
But-
get them some buy-in.
But also, if you could take a picture of the location.
Yeah.
Of where it would be, so that when you could send it to them and say, this is where we're looking to
I
put
do
the
have-
art, yeah.
I do have some
Yeah.
from,
And that's helpful to the artists when you do a call to artists as well. They've got to have the measurements and, have an idea of how big and, because then when we're asking them to give an estimate of their supplies and things, then, they can, if they have the measurements and everything, they have a better idea of what it would cost them.
and what's great is we now have an example at Sisler of what, really looks nice. So I think it'll be pretty quick to get some ideas from, and I think the call to artists is probably,
Okay, so we'll probably be looking at something going out maybe in the next month or two?
I would say by summer, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, and that kind of segued into the aluminum art boxes, illuminated art boxes, and I think we have, oh, I can't talk straight. We have the images.
Based on your collective votes, these were the ones that you selected of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 artwork that was submitted.
Right, so these are the selected pieces, and we have 5 boxes, and I checked with Diane, Alan at UPS did buy the extra panels, so changing things out will be a lot more efficient. And I think with an eye toward this, we're also, it's almost May, we're also teetering on the point of putting out the third call to artists for the art boxes in general. Because I think we usually do that in June, July.
Yeah, June, July, because I think the second phase was installed in January, remember? So it's nice to have them up for a good amount of time before we change them out, because I know.
Okay.
I've had some emails from some of the artists that have said that they got to the sponge docks and saw their art, and they were very happy and proud, so that
Good.
was kind of nice. Yeah. So I guess with the 5 additional ones, you can decide if you're not gonna put them at Sisler or whatever, maybe we just finish them out, like Bill said during that one meeting, down at the sponge docks and extend it down towards Rusty Bellies,
Sure.
if that's what you wanna do.
Does anybody have, Lucianne, do you have any comments about a particular grouping of these, or?
I like the idea of extending. We've committed to the docks. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but we've done it, and so we might as well create a whole promenade.
Okay. Bill, how do you feel about extending them down?
Yeah.
David?
I guess there's two ways of doing it, is putting it throughout or just keeping it in the sponge docks. And I guess we're primarily just going for that, so I would say to extend it then.
Okay, Robert?
I think it's much clearer to have it all in one place.
Okay, Deb?
I agree.
Okay. All right, now the next question, so we're kind of in agreement that we're all okay with extending the boxes down toward Rusty Bellies. And does anybody have any strong feelings about how these should be grouped on a box?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they could just be done randomly, you know, they all have kind of a C theme. I mean, I don't particularly think that, you know, it matters that much.
No, okay, so what you're saying is the selection of 5 of these, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, and I think just to go back to where these should belong to the docks, is that you get about 90% of these images are about the docks. So, I
Right.
mean, it's appropriate. I mean, having you know, a picture of a fish up on Tarpon Avenue maybe doesn't quite as much as that. There's another project I think that we should look for that would illuminate somewhat or somehow with some maybe different devices or something like that, that area of Tarpon and
right,
You mean downtown?
downtown, yeah.
yeah. But one should be grouped with the other?
I kind of like them randomly placed. It's not like you're in a gallery looking at a sequential thing. It's, you know, random.
Random.
I'd say random.
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 Okay. All right, Diane, random.
That's gonna make it easier. Thank you.
So however the spirit moves them. Okay,
So just to clarify for me, it's all of these?
yes.
Yes.
Front and back.
Yeah, there are 5 boxes and each one has 2 sides. So it's, all of those images were the top 10 that were selected from the last 2 rounds, right, Diane? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, current updates. The Black Heritage Project. The selection panel met March 24th at 2 PM in the Siege Project. The selection panel met March 24th at 2 PM in the Senior Info Center at the library. 2 semifinalists were selected, the Humanity Memorial and Stephen Oliver. And the panel had some additional modifications. And once that's communicated to the artists and done, they'll come back to us, and one will be selected to be presented to the Board of Commissioners.
Do we have a budget, a final budget?
The budget was 135.
And it remains there.
Right, and I copied Diane. We got confirmation from the artists that they will work within that budget, no surprises. And they both, well, it was interesting because the 4 panelists, 2 appeared in person before the selection panel and 2 via Zoom. One, the Humanity Memorial, which was one of the selections, was up in New York. They were each given half an hour, and the one was in Spain. So there was some questions, I think, about how to get the artwork from Spain to Tarpon Springs, you know, all about the, you know,
Freight costs.
well, not the, no, like the logistics of building this thing or fabricating it in Tarpon Springs. You know, is it gonna be fabricated in Spain, fabricated here? So it was, it became a very complicated project. Stephen Oliver lives in Pinellas County, he's local, and he seems to be the front runner, and I know there was some comments. One of them is kind of like an arch with imagery, so there was some tweaking as to what imagery he was using, and that would be down on the docks. And then at the Union Academy neighborhood, it was a crawl, which was a sponge corral. So that was, that was the other one. And I have if anybody wants their stuff, their memory replaced. They were pretty ambitious projects. But I think that the artists indicated that they were willing to do it. There was a certain appeal to
Are
doing
those
it.
the proposals?
Yes.
Can we see them?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've seen.
Was I not here when they were presented or something like that to us, or
Did
are we part
It
of
was
that?
given to the selection panel.
It's just it was the selection panel. Were you gonna go ahead and bring that forward to the next meeting with the proposals, or what? So they could all see it and discuss it?
Yeah, I think we can, the first four were the finalists. I took them out of order in the binder.
Okay.
And Solano is the artist from Spain. And that was kind of, as I said, everybody was allotted half an hour, and it took them like 10 minutes to find their translator.
Step back from it. Let me-
So that's
I'm not quite sure what I'm
that's
looking
getting
at.
down
So,
to,
yeah, it's like a fence,
It's
like a wall.
fence, but
that you see
what's the
through.
image?
Well, this one's horses and stuff.
I think you should probably give everybody the copies of the proposals and do that at another meeting.
yeah, because that'll
Instead of
take a
this.
while to go through.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, 'cause
Okay, moving on down the agenda here, this is, Desmond actually contacted me. St. Kate's is having some manpower issues, and hopefully they will be reinstalling the 2 repaired Naiad statues by the end of the week. Would you like to have a lottery?
So,
They are in possession
week
of the
coming.
repaired statues, so the repairs are all done, it's just a matter of doing the reinstallation. Okay. The statue information plaque, the Elwell Pelican at the Sponge Docks. Lucianne, I think you and I both dropped the ball on this one. I think we were supposed to come up with something.
The last month of my life has been dropped. I confess now.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for a grace period so that we can get together and do it. I'm sorry.
Well,
That's fine.
Okay, water project, Lucianne.
it dropped sort of like water too.
Okay,
I did get to visit with the man who runs the Dunedin and Tarpon Springs bike tours and got a little bit from him. We didn't get together very extensively and will, but just in general, he loved the idea. He thought that the bookends really made a statement about Tarpon. He, of course, was full of images that would be appropriate, but in terms of functionality for bicyclist, a misty water rather than a deluge. As you pointed out, helmets and equipment don't do real well in Florida rust. He talked about some things that Dunedin has, which are sort of outside of public art, but are instructive to know about. He said there is a place in Dunedin that bikers can fill their water bottles. They also have a little tool station that has, maybe
Wrenches.
air,
Wrenches,
yeah.
Yep.
wrenches,
Yep,
stuff
number
like
of
that.
things.
I don't know that that's our mission, but I think it's something we could share maybe with the Parks Department, and they could do it. But generally, yes, the idea of refreshment and rest and an art experience. And I think we need to take to heart a suggestion that Robert made, which is that the piece needs to survive even if the water is off. It needs to stand on
on
its
its own,
own. So
Exactly.
visiting with him is as far as I've gotten. I'm anxious to get back on it again, and
Just one thing about the tool stuff. Isn't there a bike repair shop or a bicycle repair shop on?
Right on the
two of them?
Palace.
They may not like this.
I know, that did occur to me.
You give them free stuff to, and they're charging for it, so
Yeah.
that could be a conflict right there.
I do think the one where the Neptune Lounge is.
That's Eddie
Is
Mahali.
it called
Yeah,
Neptune?
Neptune
I
Cyclery.
think he has air on the outside of his building. I think I've seen that, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
The tools that you would use or utilize on that station wouldn't preclude someone from needing Neptune bikes.
I mean, you,
So he probably
But we
wouldn't
need
be
to
upset with
concentrate
that.
on art.
Art,
well, you
But
could,
yeah,
you
and
could,
then try and keep track of the
you
tools.
could make an artistic, I mean, something could be done with that, that's very functional, very, you'd be able to utilize it, but it could still be art,
a gate, on either ends. I mean, if you want to just be very basic, just start from this premise, a gate that has a misting operation to it, but that when you don't need the misting, like when it's 30 degrees, out, you don't want to go through mist. You have to figure out that.
Well, it'd
How
have
do
to
you-
be on a
How do you
timer.
do that? How do you timer? You don't, maybe you don't want it after dark, because somebody said, what was that? But you do want the device that has the mister in it to be standalone as a piece of art. Now, that could be
Right.
just some kind of a gate that somebody,
An
water
arch,
jets.
an archway.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
water jet archway, somebody carves a water jet with some images and stuff on it like that. And I mean, that's not super expensive, and it's, it's rigged with that mister, whatever that thing, and I think they come from self-contained stuff, or does it come from city water or what, I don't know.
That would be bare investigation, I think.
It's right there by the water treatment plant, and I can tell you that living on Chesapeake Drive, Paul Smith told us once why we have such chlorine in our water is because they have to have it chlorine in the water when it gets way out there. So we get an extra dose of it. We get it really heavy. Now, people going to want to go through chlorine, because it's pretty strong. I mean, you just pour a pot of it. I mean, we pour a pot of it in their sink and we smell the chlorine.
Well, we do have the children's play area
And
that has
The splash pad.
The splash park.
That's
And
filtered?
And it's filtered and
Yeah.
it does not smell and the kids are in it and they're drinking it and everything else and they're fine.
Probably not, it's probably, I'm probably nitpicking, but I think we're all probably on the same page. It could be on either end of the thing. It could be a passage structure, a gateway of some sort. Doesn't have to be super expensive. It could be elaborate, I mean, because you can do amazing things with
Metal.
computers and laser or water jet. It'd be more appropriate for it to be cut by water jet than by laser. But, there are people out there that do that and could do it for a fairly reasonable budget, I think. And,
Okay.
not a, I think
Robert, would you like to look into it?
could look into it, yeah.
Okay.
Lucianne, I looked at the property off the Pinellas Trail down by the park, the splash park, what have you, where they have the workout area.
Exactly.
And that would be a perfect area for it. And I, in my head, I see an archway of some sort of art. I believe they also have one, not a water, but it says Palm Harbor as you're entering into Palm Harbor. And there's plenty of area down there. And I know, I did see people down there working out, and little mist after working out, or riding your bicycle would not be a bad thing. It would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget too, we want something at the south end too, and that is a little bit more problematic.
Problematic,
in
yeah.
that we've got to find some city-controlled space. So who do I talk to about that, or do I?
What space, I mean, to find out if it's county or city, is that what your question is?
No, whether there is any available city-owned space at the south end.
By Mears?
in the Mears to MLK area, along in that stretch.
Yeah, just go ahead and, if you could email me your questions.
Okay.
And then, if you have like a picture of where the site, that would help too, because then I could send it to Public Works and they could see if
Well, I
they're.
know there's a lot of private property there. So my question would be,
Do they
what,
have-
if anything, does the city own between Mears and
Okay.
Tarpon Avenue?
That's good, that's a
Okay.
good question, yeah. Just email me that if you would
Well,
with the other.
Is that part of Mears that got extended? Or
Yes.
is it?
No,
No, it's just.
Well,
still-
well, it's that intersection.
Right.
Yeah,
That's-
that
yeah.
intersection there. Is there any kind of right-of-way there, city right-of-way? I mean, aren't there
That
some
is the
kind of
question.
easements on the sides of roads?
Sure there are,
Especially when
yeah,
they're,
sure there are.
especially when they're, impact feeing them?
budget. This is two parts again. Do we need to look at that now or when we do the budget review? But that,
Well, I think if Robert looks into it and maybe gets some ballpark figures, and we definitely have to look at the budget next month, if not sooner. Maybe if you
We
could.
have the numbers today,
Oh,
yeah. Ms. Bacon?
these efficient people we work with.
So, what was budgeted was 147.5, and actual expenditure being 50,694, and 96,805 remaining. That is not with the Eagle Creek 13,365, so we're approximately 110,170.75, approximately,
That's for fiscal year 2022.
22.
That's the whole budget for the year?
And they had
122?
mentioned Furman, the payment,
Right.
but I have not seen that in here yet.
Yeah, that's almost 25,000.
Everything has not hit yet, in other
Right.
words.
Megan, I'm sorry, how much is not obligated?
Like that has not, that currently is just
Is not obligated to any project?
110, 170, 75.
Right, plus the Furman would be about another 25, so we're looking at 145.
So that's
That
110,
135 is already out of that for the Black
Yes.
Heritage? Okay.
so that's 110 after the Black Heritage, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's already been obligated.
So, okay, so if I go to a fabricator with a request about what I could get out of this, what am I looking at?
Black Heritage Project on
I mean, do we have a budget? Do we have any kind of suggestion of a budget? I mean, how much do we use from our whole yearly budget?
Well, I guess I guess the thing is to find out how much something like that would cost.
Well,
and
yeah,
then
we could do it by the square foot and things like that,
Right.
what the material is, I mean, whether it's a high-grade aluminum or whether it's stainless steel or something like that.
I
Right,
would imagine it would have to be stainless steel.
Yeah, 'cause of the
It would
water,
have
yeah.
to,
yeah,
so
well,
natural.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, aluminum would blanch out.
Yeah, it would have to be stainless
It would have to
steel.
be painted, and then you'd have to paint that, and that would be, so stainless steel, okay.
all right, and Bill just mentioned the magic word sponsorship. I don't think that's anything that would violate any of our regulations, Diane,
What,
to get somebody to,
if somebody wants to donate
Spons-
money?
yeah,
I don't see why not.
okay.
Especially, I mean, you talk about the car washes, you know, an opportunity to, you know,
Right.
Visit our bicycle wash on Safford Avenue,
But you can't put your name on it.
Yeah.
or on Safford Avenue, wash your car at so-and-so on.
We'd have to
Next to
find out,
CVS.
you know, what they want, you know, we can't have a billboard up next to it, so, you know, so that would have to be all,
Subliminally.
you know,
Nice
approved,
little-
yeah.
Little thing that dispenses coupons for the car wash. Okay.
Gumballs. This may be highly inappropriate, but I'm going to suggest it anyway. This is a big project, and it could be a signature project that sets us on our proactive way.
Right.
Would we consider tabling any new projects that come unsolicited from us until we can budget and know this, just so that we're not nibbling away at the edges?
Okay.
What
No,
we
could-
have.
We could certainly consider that. I have another project I want to tell everybody about, but,
Nibble, nibble.
nibble, nibble, gulp, gulp. But, anyway, yeah, it would be a big gulp, but, I think I may have found some help with funding, so it might not be such a big gulp. But, yeah, I think our first consideration is to keep an eye on the budget. But I agree, it would be a signature project and maybe, give it priority.
One thing you've discovered too is, what Pat was saying in her presentation is that, developers will come in and then circumstances, it's like, you're like, oh, okay, great, we're gonna get this money. And then if it falls through, so unfortunately, there's no crystal ball to tell us, okay, it's great that these are coming down the pike, but whether they're actually viable projects or not also depends to be seen too.
Right.
So we can keep an eye on it, and I'll stay in touch with
Oh,
Pat.
we're not
but-
counting any chickens, but,
but
I
just,
just wanted to know, like, what the potential is. And really, I think Pat was important because I think she gave us all more of an insight into the actual process of how all of this works. It was kind of nuts and bolts, so. Lucianne, do you have anything else on the water project?
I do not. I'll keep plugging away.
Okay, and new business, the budget update, I think we've discussed that. We have our numbers, but I think we're going to be doing this on a monthly basis, Diane. It seems like you and Megan have a handle on it anyway, so it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. Okay, here's the big gulp. Tarpon Springs Library 25th anniversary. I had a meeting with the library director, Carrie Rupp-Calvis, and the Friends president, Ann Todd Eisner, to discuss the possible role of the PAC in the library's 25th anniversary observation. It's going to be the last week in October to coincide with Friends of the Library National Week. Okay, I reached out to Kelly, and Christel will be donating a framed giclée to the library. Elizabeth Indianos is donating a mezzotint of Moonlight on the Anclote, can't talk today. And there was a discussion of purchasing the Marcoya lenticular. It was part of the Black Heritage Project proposal, and it got very high marks from the selection panel, but they were worried about the location of the installation and some of the content issues in terms of the sort of the thrust of the project itself, the Black History Project. But anyway, it can be purchased. It was, both Carrie and Ann Todd were very excited about doing it and installing it on the outside of the library under the overhang on the outside. It's a 3D lenticular. It's 9 by 4 feet. So it's a pretty big installation. And the price tag right now is $75,000. As of this morning, I may have a line on some funding for quite a bit of it. So I just want everybody to sort of, think about doing it. Robert?
Is that going to include any kind of adjustments for installation? And, is there going to be an architect involved in this?
That would be the entire price
Oh, that is
for installation,
included.
the whole
That's
thing.
included.
And he also volunteered to create 1,000 3D postcards that the Friends could sell as a fundraiser. So I'm going to explore some additional funding for this, but I'd just like to get a feel for, if I have the image of the,
Which is the image, yeah, that'd be kind of good.
start down there and.
Is there any way we could roll the two together?
Roll,
The Safford corridor, you know, with the library. Library is sort of on Safford, isn't it?
I don't think so.
No.
I know he's got a big following, I'm on the board of the LIPA, and the attendance, an average 3-month attendance figure was 700, and when his work was exhibited at the museum, it went up to 4,000. So that was quite a leap. But, you know, he did work with Dolly, and he's, you know, got the connect with
It's very different than that other work.
It really is, isn't it? It's not what I expected. Is it what you expected?
No, no, but you know, and that was Chris,
Yeah,
still,
because
I might
it's
be a
all
little
about
bit ticked off.
Space,
Right.
sort of like.
But if you go to his website, you could see the 3D
Okay.
effect. It's rather,
Again,
it would be a very
we're gonna see it.
interesting piece.
Lemon.
So it's lenticular,
Correct.
Yeah, it's
So it-
holographic. Did you
Thank
say?
you.
okay, so,
So it would be 3D. It would, you know, it would have depth that would look like you're actually underwater. If you, did any of you get up to the Lipa Ratner to see it?
So, take that, if we took that, how much is left in the budget? I'm bad at math too.
Okay,
35,000.
Right.
35,000 to do the whole, yeah,
yeah,
Much.
see,
the
that's
water
the
mist,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said, could they be rolled together somehow,
Yeah.
but,
Maybe there could be some wiggle room on this, and as I said, I do have a line on some additional funding.
I know from my own, interest in doing laser cut stuff, and, that it's gonna be more expensive than that. To do what we want, and, so, I don't know, you know, like, it's, you know, it's like Lucianne says, do we want this to be a signature piece?
Well,
Which,
again,
you
I'll
know,
see what
you-
I can
you-
do about bringing in some extra funding. I think if I can make a dent in that, it might be a little more palatable to everybody.
Does the library staff have a grant writer or somebody who, I mean, I don't know what their funding source is, but I know, for example, in the museum world, there are all kinds of NEA, NEH, IMS funding. So does the library have access to that kind of
They
grant?
have their own, this would be something from the Public Art Committee. This is not a library project per se. You know, Joan went to meet with Carrie to kind of propose that, you know, maybe this could happen for the 25th anniversary, but this is not something they're doing. It's the Public Art Committee, so we would have to, you know, it would have to come from you all, you know, kind of thing,
But I think it could be,
because they have
You
their
know,
own projects.
yeah, no, I think it could be a cooperative effort, and, you know, I know that the Friends of the Library have some money too, but, you know, as I said, I'm exploring, you know, a grant possibility that I'm very optimistic will bear some fruit. But if you take, if additional funding could be gotten for this and take the price tag off the table, would you feel that this would be something that would be a good thing to do for the library?
I'm trying to visualize that space there, and I don't know that I have a good enough idea of, yeah, I think it's a beautiful piece. It's just how it would fit there.
Right.
The entranceway. So it would be on one wall. It's actually a large entrance area.
Right, well, there's a big blank space to the right of the main entrance. So that, it would go there.
Okay.
It would be an exterior installation.
It would be an interior.
Exterior.
An exterior, that's what I, okay.
So,
So there's pony walls on both sides. And there's walkway in. And most people park on the left side. If you're facing the library, most people park on the left side or directly in front. So the left side is the side that they would be going into most commonly, or straight in from across parking where the fountain is. That you're saying the right side of the exterior of the building would be.
Right. That's actually what Carrie suggested as being
Need to look at
the
it.
most appropriate, location for it. Because on either end, there's a window. And then on the left-hand side, there's the lettering on the wall that says Tarpon Springs Public Library. Then there's the entrance, and then there's a big blank wall that goes to another window.
I need to
Right.
see it, yeah.
And remember, there's pony walls in front.
What is a pony wall?
And so a pony wall is like this bar countertop. So there, if this is the building, this is the walkway, and it's a pony wall in front of it.
No, there's
Short
nothing there but columns.
Yeah.
The short wall.
No, there's just columns. I was there yesterday. I don't know if there's a picture of them. And, the only other thing that was, they'd have to move a hibiscus, which would not be,
Too problematic.
yeah,
Is that an exterior piece?
yes.
Higher profile spot for it.
Considering our budget and what we've been discussing about the Safford corridor piece as being proactive on our part,
Right.
this piece doesn't seem to me, this is reactive. And it takes a big portion of our budget on a reactive thing. As nice as the piece is, I mean, I wish we had 3 times as much budget. We could say we went that and we went the other thing. But, it's a conundrum in that is the Safford Avenue piece a chance to really do something precedent-setting for downtown Tarpon? As opposed to putting this up in the library, it's very possible a lot of people are going to look at it and say, oh, the Friends of the Library have done that, or something like that. I mean, it could go that way. I mean, it's for the library in a way. It could, but what I'm concerned about is that it's taking a big portion of our budget.
Well, as I said, I'm gonna see if I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
secure,
certainly.
that's why, if I can take the budget consideration off. I know that both Carrie and Todd were very enthusiastic about it being an artistic addition to the library.
Yeah, and if we could work it out somewhere to where the budget for the Safford thing was, if everything was reversed, it was more like $80,000, $90,000 for that, I think you could maybe see that happening. But, I don't know, Lucianne, you said that you saw this as really a kind of a signature thing for
The
the city.
Safford Avenue.
And precedent setting for this committee to propose something and to have some meat in it, meat on the bone with this thing.
And to start that process we've all been talking around, which is helping to stamp a visual identity on the city. And just listening to all of this has helped me formulate my hesitation to that piece. And frankly, it's the subject matter. How many more depictions of
Yeah.
Spongers.
the sponge industry do we need before we've kind of run out of the aesthetic? And that's my hesitation.
Okay, well, it is a unique piece, and as I said, part of the subject matter is the reason I might be able to tie it into some funding. So, basically, I have been approached several times by a friend of mine who's been trying to give us money. This is good.
That's a good thing.
And nobody seems to want to take me up on it. So I figured, you know, I was talking to Carrie about this, and I think, you know, working with the Friends of the Library, and it's very likely it might be a joint project, but I don't see the problem with, you know, doing something in concert with the Friends. It would be the Plaque and the Friends. The Department of Agriculture actually has significant amount of grant money to give to sort of older, almost, what's the word I'm looking for, obsolete forms of agriculture and aquaculture, and sponging's one of them. So it would check their boxes. So this image and the idea of perhaps adding an educational component inside the library that would, you know, comprise, maybe a multimedia presentation on, you know, the history of sponging, the challenges it faced with the red tide in the 40s, and so on and so forth. So it would be, you know, an educational thing that would get people into the library and also have an artistic component. So that's kind of where I'm hoping this will lead. And, you know, so I'm just gonna have to, I guess, given that, if I could pull this off, would everybody be okay with this? David?
Yeah, I think if you get the funding for it outside, why not? I think it would add something to the library.
I've with the Bahamian sponger project, I've always said that we need more money for that, you know, and that we did some other projects that might have drained money from that project, and I think that whatever, if we go ahead with this Safford Avenue project, we need as much money as we can get for that. And I would have no problem with this if the funding came from somewhere else. But
All right.
I'm sort of standing on the fact that if we want to do a signature piece, we want to do it to where we establish some precedent for this committee being proactive in the city, not reactive.
Well, I don't see supporting the library's 25th anniversary as being reactive.
I don't think it is. I think, but okay, semantics, just semantics. I mean, the example of our being able to propose something that's not in anybody's mind, really, and to, you know, that is establishing another precedent for this committee to make suggestions to the city that they hadn't thought of before.
Well, that's the illuminated art box. We've done
Yes, we
original
have.
projects
Yes,
already.
and
so-
that's really good. I mean, that's a good thing. So I'm just, you know, I'm just saying that I'm pretty much interested in, if we do the Safford project, I don't know whether we're gonna do it or not, but if we do it, I'd really like to see us put a lot of attention into that. And this, to me, takes away from it. I have no problem with it being at the library, this piece.
See, I don't see them in opposition, especially if we don't have a funding problem.
If we don't have a funding problem, then that's fine. I mean, aesthetically, I don't have any problem with it, except that it is a pretty standard theme. We got one on the side of a building over here that's pretty much like that, except we're not seeing underwater, but it's a pretty.
Well, you heard my explanation of that it's the very subject matter that might be able to enable the funding.
Yes, sure.
So, any other commentary on this before we move along? Okay, so I'm gonna have to set to work on my grant writing skills. Okay, Michelle, Sasha, the storm drain proposal.
No, I've reached out to her via email and also by phone, and she told me that she's going to go ahead and respond. I told her when the meeting was, and I have received nothing. I reached out again yesterday, but I have not heard from her, so if you would like to take it off the agenda.
I think
And
that,
this is Girl Scout?
No,
I think
this
that
is, this is a
yeah.
private
Oh,
citizen.
something, okay.
yeah, no, I think that this is her second strike, and, I don't think it's in our purview to be chasing people down. Okay, and speaking of the storm drains, did we get anything from the Girl Scout troop?
The Girl Scout troop is, they have a real busy April, and she is going to come with their proposal to the May meeting.
Oh, excuse me. Desmond. Good, I'm in the middle of the public art meeting. Hopefully you have good news for me. That's all right. No, just speak to me, tell me. I picked you up because I'm hoping you have news for me. Okay, so you think by the end of next week? Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the meeting. Thanks, Desmond. Bye.
Do you need to vote to take Michelle Sasha off of the agenda, or?
Well, okay, entertain a motion to remove the Michelle Sasha storm drain proposal from the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Our wonderful CRA production art.
We have no new proposals.
Okay. Oh, no, this was the statues.
I thought we already did that last.
Yes, we did. So,
Yeah, no, I just, okay, location approval, okay. You've done that, but I left it on because, if there was any additional new
Right.
ones that come down the pike, yeah.
yeah, I think we're gonna leave that on as a rolling
Okay. I'll just
agenda
do-
items in case something comes in, we won't have to start from square one.
Okay.
Okay. Diane, city announcements, Art of Health.
I just have this in your packets, just so if you could save the date, if you're interested. It's gonna be a free community event. I've been wanting to do this for 2 years now, and COVID has always prevented it. You can't really have a health event when you're in a pandemic. We're finally gonna move forward with it, and it's gonna be very exciting. It's gonna be at beautiful Craig Park, and we're gonna have live music, lots of different genres of music throughout the day, and we are going to have exhibitors and food trucks and a really nice area for the kids. So the whole premise of the event is to show how the visual arts and the performing arts positively affect an individual, a family, and a community's health and well-being. Because we'll have all kinds of informational banners around how dance affects you, how, playing a musical instrument affects you, how, participating. And so we'll have some demonstrations, yoga, different, also the Tarpon Tarpon Springs Art Association is gonna be there, the Garden Club is gonna be there, so a lot of local, community, groups are gonna, participate as well, so I think it's gonna be a really fun event for the community to come together and just celebrate you know, how positive the arts affect our life.
Yes,
So
and
hope you
Dr.
could come.
Longley, he's a fabulous entertainer, in
Yeah.
addition to being, I think, the head of the ER department at
Yeah,
Advent.
actually, he's chief of staff now.
A chief of staff,
Yeah.
okay.
So yes, he is a very accomplished musician, and I have on good account that he maybe brings some additional medical professionals that are also musicians with him, and singers, so
Okay,
could be very interesting. And that's at 10 o'clock, so if you want to catch Dr. Longley, you
okay.
know, come early.
Okay, this isn't on the agenda, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. I think at the moment, the annual report to the Board of Commissioners is going to be on the agenda for May 10th.
Let's see, what's that? It's the first, it's the second week. Let me see what the date is, just to confirm. That sounds familiar, but let me just check for sure. You're still on the agenda, as far as I know, Joe, so, let's see. May 10th, is it? Okay. Thank you.
And if you would like to come and heckle me, by all means.
Yeah, it's nice to have the,
It was late.
you know, the committee there if
Yeah.
possible.
It was late last year.
It was
It
ridiculous.
was 11:30, I think. so.
Oh,
Well, the presentations,
Yeah.
they'll put us on early.
Yeah.
yeah, they put us on first so we can, run away. Okay, the usual reminders, please notify Diane if you cannot attend. Provide any handouts or presentations. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, May 11th. That will be the day after my entertainment gig at the Board of Commissioners meetings at 2 p.m. And we are adjourned at 3:37 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second. All in favor? Okay. Adjourned at 3:37 p.m. Thank you all very much. We've all got homework to do.
Conserve.
Right.
So, Mr. Meals,
Mr. Strong.